Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my Blogcast. Hope you're good. My girlfriend went away to a Pilates retreat for a long weekend. She goes to a Pilates class in the town that she lives. They've been planning this weekend away for quite some time. I did get an invite when I gatecrashed their Christmas drinks event last year, but I didn't manage to go. It was all girls only in the end, so me not going, I think probably made everybody's experience much better. They went to Lourdes in France and it did sound, I must say, really good. Basically, they had a whole chateau to themselves where they did regular Pilates classes. A lady came in to give various beauty treatments. They were fed 3 times a day. There was wine and cheese, plus they got to do a wine tasting one afternoon. Add to that, the weather was quite good and they had a swimming pool there they could use as well. Needless to say, she had a fantastic relaxing time. While she was away, I stayed at her house to look after things there. It was quite odd being at her place when she wasn't there. She does like to cook, and when I'm at her house and she's there, she prepares all of the meals. I enjoy cooking, but she doesn't really like me in her kitchen using her stuff. There was an incident where she caught me cooking a steak using her smallest pan on the biggest gas rig with the flames lapping up around the side. The steak was cooked perfectly and tasted amazing. She was not a fan of what she saw and hasn't let me in her kitchen to cook anything since. Anyway, she wasn't there. I had to eat. So she knew she had to let me in the kitchen. And I thought with her not being there, I'd be more relaxed. Turns out I wasn't. I was so careful about every pot and pan I chose, so careful about which rings I used, even down to the kitchen utensils I borrowed. I was really careful not to use any that I might break or I thought might upset her, which really made the cooking experience a lot less enjoyable for me. And as a result, I didn't go too mad. I just kept it very basic with my cooking. It was perfectly fine. I survived and had quite a nice, quiet, relaxing time. I went out and caught up with a mate of mine on the Saturday she was away in London. We watched the football in a sports bar and had a few drinks and a bite to eat, all very low-key and civilised. She was returning home late on a Tuesday night. My plan was to make sure I was awake and give her a big welcome home. After I'd had my food that night, I went upstairs to the bedroom to watch something on TV. Then I got myself ready for bed. I had been tracking her flight online, so I knew exactly when it had landed. I saw it land on the app. She actually messaged me to confirm she'd landed. I knew she had to collect some luggage, and I knew roughly how long it would take her to drive from the airport to the house. So I knew roughly what time she would be arriving. Then I made a couple of mistakes. Firstly, I went and got ready for bed, cleaned my teeth and put my pyjamas on. Then I climbed into bed. Then for some unknown reason, and I'm not exactly sure why I did this, I thought it'd be a good idea just to lie down for a few moments, maybe rest a bit and then get up and get ready to welcome her. Yep, you've guessed it. So I just fell straight asleep, and the next thing you know, about half an hour later, I wake up just to see her having already got into bed and about to go to sleep herself. So my big plan of giving her the big welcome home didn't really work out at all, unfortunately. A couple of weekends ago, we went to Cardiff to meet up with some friends. We went there earlier in the year to see the Stereophonics play at the Principality Stadium. That was the first time I'd been there. I really enjoyed it, so we decided to go back with more of our mates, rent an Airbnb and just spend some time there. We learnt from our previous trip to Wales on a Friday night that the train does get pretty busy, and we found out if you booked way in advance, upgrading to first class was not as much as you think extra. And having taken first class on the way back from Wales, we kind of knew what we were expecting. So yes, I'll admit it, we booked first class train tickets to go from London to Cardiff on the Friday night. However, when we arrived at our seat, there were already 3 quite big Welsh lads sitting there. I was a bit tired by this point and I saw that they were definitely in our place, so I very politely asked them to move, pointing out they were in our seats. They asked us if we could sit somewhere else, and I straight away was like, well no, it's going to be a very busy train. If we go somewhere else, someone else has probably got that seat. It's going to be like playing musical chairs. And then there was a little bit of a standoff. The train crew arrived and joined the conversation. I think the guys had just seen a table, wanted a table because they were having some drinks, grabbed it. They didn't actually notice it was in first class. So we were prepared to relocate at that point because we'd found another available pair of seats. But they decided that they didn't want to pay the upgrade to first class, so moved on. It was all very amicable. We shook hands and wished each other a good evening as they left the carriage, and we got our rightful seats. Still calling it a win for me. Journey was great. Train was on time. We arrived into Cardiff, found ourselves a taxi and got him to take us to the Airbnb where our friends were already enjoying the evening. We arrived, there were drinks, we had a chat and a bit of a catch up. That was great. Then, sensibly, we got quite an early night because we wanted to make the most of the next day. We were up at a decent time, had a fry up in the Airbnb, which was great. Every time though I go somewhere, I always make people's lives 10 times harder. With my celiac disease, everything I have has to be gluten-free and there can't be any cross-contamination, which does add to the stress and complication of cooking me breakfast. Happily, my friends are very accommodating and very nice, so they always manage to look after me perfectly well, alongside my girlfriend, who makes sure I have gluten-free bread and my own butter, as well as my own gluten-free snacks whenever we go anywhere. That worked great. We decided we should try a bit of culture first and do some sightseeing. So the unanimous decision was for us to go and have a look round Cardiff Castle. Not been before, did not even see it last time we were in Cardiff. We headed straight there and I thought it was really good. It was £16 for a ticket to go in and go around. If you look round yourself, it was a bit more if you wanted a guided tour. There were kind of 3 main parts to it. The oldest part of the castle, which were the walls and of course the big tower overlooking the city, which we went to the very top of that, had a great view of things from there. Then there was the newer part where the owners lived in the 17th and 18th century. That was quite a spectacular place. There was one room where King Charles had been in to meet the Minister of Wales. There's a picture of him on the wall in the very room you were looking at. It also had one of the biggest and best libraries I think I've ever seen there. It was very impressive. The collection of original books they had in there must have been worth quite a lot of money. And the final part we walked round was the tunnels that they have running round the outside perimeter of the castle grounds. These were opened up by the then owners during the Second World War to be used as bomb shelters, so they let as many locals as they could fit in whenever there was an air raid. Walking round them was quite eerie and quite real because they had speakers all along the tunnels that moved between playing Vera Lyng's songs, speeches from Winston Churchill and the actual sound of planes going overhead and dropping their bombs. It really did kind of transport you back to that time during the war and give you a very small idea of what it must have been like for the people sheltering in those tunnels during that time. And those tunnels would have been absolutely packed with no room to move. The last thing I looked at before we left the castle was there's a Gareth Bale sculpture. Now, it's not actually of the footballer himself, it's of a coat of arms, but it is dedicated to him. I did, of course, have to take a picture of that, with him being a former Tottenham Hotspur player, of course. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go and see Gareth Bale's bar, which he owns. As it turns out, it wasn't that far away from where we were in the castle, so I could have easily popped in there, but I didn't realise that. It has lots of his football memorabilia in there. If I go back to Cardiff, I will definitely be popping in there for at least a drink. After the castle, we decided maybe to get some liquid refreshment. There was talk of maybe going to a coffee shop, but as it turned out, in the end, we did end up in a bar, and it was a really good one as well. It was called Rum and Fizz. The decor in there I thought was fantastic, and the soundtrack was great. The music they played varied, but was just perfect for the venue location and the fact that it was a Saturday afternoon. Add to that, they served their drinks in the most amazing glasses. I had a Prosecco that looked like it came in a mini goldfish bowl. The cocktails in there were really good as well. I had 2 of their espresso martinis, which were amazing. Bit of an odd choice of drink for me, as I'm not a massive fan of coffee, but I really do love an espresso martini. We meant to pop in there for a couple of drinks, and the plan was to continue looking around the city, maybe visit a couple of other places. However, it was so good in there, we just ended up staying in there, drinking and talking all afternoon until it was time to head off to our dinner reservation, which of course was made by me because I had to pick a celiac friendly place, Cote, to eat for our evening meal. Had a great meal there, then went back to our accommodation for the weekend for a couple of more drinks. Then we had to call it a day and head to bed. Next day we all got up and headed off in our own directions to get home. Linda and I once again went with the first class train option back to London. Didn't work out quite so well this time. The train we were originally due to be on was cancelled due to animals being on the track further up the line, so we had to catch a train which was an hour later. Still got the seats, still got the snacks. It was still an enjoyable journey, so all was fine. I really do like Cardiff as a place and do plan on going back there at some point when I can. I am not the biggest watcher of films. I have probably watched more in the last 5 years than I've watched in the previous 15, as my girlfriend does like to go to the cinema and she is a fan of films. Every now and then though, there is one that I really want to go and see, and last weekend I went to the cinema with my girlfriend on Saturday to see the new Bruce Springsteen film, Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere. I thought it was really good. I'll be honest, when I first heard about the project, I thought it was about his entire life story, like the Elton John one and the film about Queen. However, it actually focuses on a very specific part of his life, a 2-year period where he is working on his album Nebraska. It's kind of after he's just tasted his first bit of success with his first top 10 hits, a successful album and a hugely popular tour. Without giving too much away, the story is how he deals with the transition and how he kind of has to fight to make the album he actually wants to make while going through some quite large personal problems that he'd not really talked about in great detail in the past, and he's kind of explained them in the film but not really talked about them or highlighted them anywhere else. But it's all very well done, as you'd expect. Jeremy Allen White is fantastic as the boss, plays it absolutely brilliantly, and I must say the casting for the E Street Band is very good. When the shots of all of them are on stage together, you can easily see who is meant to be who. Very nicely done. Also, Stephen Graham plays Bruce's dad in the film, and he is absolutely brilliant. You understand his character and relationship with Bruce very quickly. The whole thing is very well done. The acting is fantastic. It is a true story. It has been overseen by Bruce. He was quite involved in the project, and as it turned out, apparently, he did actually end up on set watching it being filmed on several days. A friend of mine, Richard, is a massive Springsteen fan. He's seen him live so many times, and he's actually been to Asbury Park, where Bruce is from, and started his career several times. So I've seen photos of his visits there. So when I saw places on screen that I kind of recognised from his photos, it did make me think of him, and I've had conversations with him about what it was like there around the Jersey Shore area. It's 2 hours long, and in many ways it's quite life affirming. I'm not sure whether to fully appreciate it you need to be a Springsteen fan. Possibly it would help you get some of the references and some of the nuances, but as a standalone film and story, I think you'd kind of get it, and you'd get the message that comes from it, which is ultimately a positive one about mental health, looking after yourself and seeking help if you need it, and having a good group of friends around you looking out for you. It doesn't necessarily completely paint Bruce in an angelic light, but then again, no one in their real life is completely right, completely fair all of the time, and it's very difficult to go through your entire life without hurting or upsetting anybody. In fact, it's impossible. All of those factors come into play, and of course you have lots of Bruce's music running through the whole thing as well. I thought it was great. Linda, who, although I have dragged her to 3 Bruce Springsteen concerts now in the last few years, is not as big a fan as me. She's not read his book. She doesn't know the details of his life and career that I do. But she thoroughly enjoyed it and thought it was really good. The performances are so good, we would not be surprised if some of the actors in this film actually get Oscar nominations. I would recommend it. Obviously, I was probably always going to like it anyway, but it was very well done, and I'm really glad we went to see it. Tottenham Hotspur's season has been a bit up and down recently. Haven't had much to cheer about when I've been to watch them at home with my season ticket. One thing I have enjoyed Spurs related recently though is James Maddison's YouTube channel. The midfielder is currently out injured. He posted a behind the scenes video of our pre-season tour, and a couple of weeks ago, he put his next video up, which was a behind-the-scenes look at what happened after his scan on his knee when he'd found out he had an ACL injury. It starts with the meeting with his surgeon before the operation, and it also documents the first time he goes back to the training ground to see the rest of the squad. I think if you're a football fan, and in particular if you're a Tottenham fan, you'll really enjoy it. It gives a really good insight into how the players interact and how they're just basically young, normal lads who have an exceptional sporting talent. Good luck to James with his recovery. I'm sure he'll come back better and stronger. He's doing everything he needs to and everything right. It was my auntie and uncle's 44th wedding anniversary recently, and they put some pictures of the wedding on Facebook. I was only 5 years old when they got married, and I have quite vague memories of the event. I do remember dancing to the Birdie song at their wedding disco. One of the photos was a group shot of everyone who was there. I am near the front, perched on my dad's knee, but they appear to have caught something very rare in that picture that may be a one-off. That is the only time I think I've ever been photographed when I'm not looking at the camera. I'm looking completely the wrong way. You can see only the side of my face. I don't think that's ever happened before or since that incident. I'd like to know who or what was distracting me on that day. Nowadays, I'm always staring straight down the barrel of the camera lens with a big smile on my face. As well as a celiac, I am an asthmatic, so for the last 20 odd years I have been having my flu jab when it's been offered. I had it recently at the chemist. Nowadays you book online through the NHS app and they see you in there. It's so simple, so straightforward, and this year I got a very small amount of pain in my arm and that was about it. Lasted about a day and a half and I felt fine. Anything that keeps the flu and colds away from my asthmatic chest, I am definitely a big fan of. That's almost it for this time. Just a reminder that you can hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 at radio9springs.com. Look after yourselves and each other. Take care, stay safe, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.